So, hello! Welcome to the third session of Meet the Jugglers Live for this 2025, celebrating 10 years of Pearls of Juggling. And I'm very excited to have Luther Bangert with us today. And I met Luther 10 years ago, actually, when Pearls of Juggling first came out. And met him in Torino when I was touring with my book. I was touring with a book and had some workshops. And I really liked his style then. I'll describe Luther as an expressive contemporary juggling, but he's got some crazy technical tricks, some amazing stuff going on. Anyway, without any further
Oh, there. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, we're having a transatlantic members when I was a kid, in the news or whatever, they'd always speak to their correspondent in America or something, and there would be like a bit of a lag. So you're perfectly fine. Consider it. Welcome, Luther. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here. Hopefully the internet lag won't keep popping off, but yeah, happy to be here. Always happy to talk to you and happy to talk about juggling. So yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Let's just drive straight into it. So tell us what are you doing right now, and then we'll go all the way back to a little bit like your story. But let's just start like now. Where are you right now in the world?
Yeah, so right now I'm in Philadelphia in the U.S. And very specifically right now I'm in Circadium, School of Contemporary Circus, where I teach here in Philadelphia. We're really lucky to have this it's a beautiful facility and a 3-year circus program here where I teach juggling and do some other like artistic advisory work as well. So I just finished a 2-hour training this morning with my own juggling, and I'm now in the library at the school. Here in Philadelphia, and currently performing around here in the East Coast of the U.S. and further abroad from time to time, but this is my base at the moment.
Cool. So you have a 2-hour practice. Is that your practice like every day? You have 2 hours, or depends a bit on what day it is, or how is your practice now?
Yeah, right now, generally Monday to Thursday, I do a 2-hour practice about this time, which is 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning here. And that's been a really nice structure for me, and the consistency has been incredible to have. And I find that amount of time is kind of necessary to cover both technical and creative work, and then which I don't always like to separate them in that way, but it's the easiest way to talk about it. And then across those 2 hours, I feel like I'll merge those together by the end and be working on new sequences or new elements of the show that I'm currently working on. And also depending, like if I'm teaching that day, then it's a really nice way to kind of come in, put myself a little bit in the heads of the like first year students working on juggling and be like, okay, we worked on this pattern last time, or we worked on this kind of movement, and kind of like use myself as a laboratory for like, this would be the next thing to teach them. So it's a beautiful way to like combine juggling myself and what I'm also teaching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the best teachers are the ones that are in the practice. Not necessarily have to be actively performing, I don't think, but need to be in the practice somehow. So yeah, you have more to share then, right? You have more to share. This works out. And how has your practice evolved though? In like, when did you begin? How long ago was it that you learned to juggle in the beginning, or like when did you start to get very passionate about it?
Yeah, I started in 2005, which is it was like August 2005, so about 19 and a half years ago. And I'm currently 39, so I'm like, jugglers are obsessed with numbers, but I'm like, this is like my halfway points. I feel like a lot of jugglers talk about this, like this is when I've been juggling for half of my life. So yeah, this is my prime meridian right here, is this point of my juggling journey. And yeah, I started. Let's see. Basically, I saw somebody balance a ladder on their chin and juggle 3 clubs at the same time a couple of years before that. And then I started balancing things on my face after that, just out of nowhere. I got obsessed, thought it seemed like a cool thing to do. Got really good at just balancing a broom on my chin. No other, no reason. No, I wasn't performing it, nothing, just doing it for fun. And I might have lost you, Anthony, but I'm going to keep chatting.
Yeah, here I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm having some trouble today, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, and from there,
gods.
From there, I could balance things on my face. And a couple of years later, I was at college, and a roommate of mine could do a 3-ball cascade and do under the leg, and I was like, "Ooh, maybe I should try to go back and balance that thing on my face and try to juggle at the same time." Like I saw this person do a couple of years before, and also a little backup juggling history. My father could do the 3-ball cascade. Had tried to teach me a few times throughout my childhood, and I was never really interested at all, which is really kind of funny in hindsight. That it was just like, oh, I don't know, that's not interesting to me. But yeah, then I went back and asked my father to give me some tips on the cascade, and then I just got obsessed, as you know, many of us do. And I was juggling.
Why do we? What is this obsession, passion, attraction? Like, what was it for you? How was it for you? How could you describe it without talking for everybody else, but like as a shared experience?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I can talk about it how it was in the beginning, and I can also talk about how I feel like there's still that spark in my practice every day. A little, not as the beginning, it's like, okay, I just want to juggle at every single spare moment. At any moment, I should be juggling. Yeah, and that curve. I mean, I think there's a fascination with. I think for those of us that do have this initial obsession or this long-term obsession, there's this just a clear notice in how your practice makes you better, like kind of addiction to that. There's like the flow state side of things, which is amazing and wonderful, and then there's also just like, wow, not only am I getting in this flow state, which is unlike anything else I've ever done, but like when I do that, I'm also getting better technically, and I'm just like learning new things. And I think it's like for a lot of us that didn't, other people experience that in other sports or arts or work and all kinds of things. And I think I had often throughout my life had different obsessions or different like little things. For 2 or 3 years, I'd be really obsessed with this, and playing guitar like for 2 or 3 years was one thing right before juggling for me. Running was another thing for me right before that. I was like running every day, miles and miles. But then it was like when I found juggling, it was just kind of like all of that momentum in each of those things really latched onto juggling, and for whatever reason, that just really stuck with me. And yeah, I don't know. There's so many beautiful things about juggling, so I don't think it's any one thing, but that obsession for sure is, it's those of us that can handle dropping things and failing over and over and over again without being as phased, which is also a practice. It's not like everyone comes into this without some version of that, but yeah, that combined with just enjoying being able to practice on your own, something that you get better and better at. I think those are 2 big things about the initial spark. And then, I think that changes over time, and it's different for everybody. But after juggling for like 19 years now, I think it's less common that I would, in the beginning, I could go 6-8 hours juggling all the time. Now it's less common that I feel like that. Like, I can't think of the last time I've done like a 6-hour practice, but I do still have that spark when I do like my 2-hour practice. It's great. And it's like, I go in and I'm like, okay, I'm doing this and I'm getting better, and I can kind of like, now there's so much more structure to my practice and so much more like way more involved in what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do. So there's families of tricks that I'm, moving in between, and it's like, okay, I'm
a little bit of a deep dive about how your practice is now. Like what do you do? What is always there? How do you spark up your interest? How long do you stay on a trick before you move on to something else? How much time do you leave for creating variations, pushing your limits? How much time do you go drilling things you already know how to do? The creative, expressive aspects. Let's have a look about your practice a second.
Yeah, definitely. For me, so yeah, particularly in these like 2 hour chunks that I've been doing really regularly, I usually let myself come in. I say let myself because I let myself do something that I enjoy from the beginning, because that feels like kind of a good way to start. Like I don't want to start with, there might be one thing that day I'm like, oh, I really don't want to work on this trick, or I really don't feel like sequencing today, or whatever. So whatever, like kind of the joyful part of my practices, that's important for me to start with, and that's kind of a warm up also. And that shifts a lot lately. It's been ring juggling, which has been really really interesting. I never really did ring juggling throughout my whole juggling life until last year, about a year ago, and I've been really into ring juggling. So I think I really feel the initial spark that I felt like 19 years ago, kind of again right now in that way, where like I'm using a prop that I really didn't work with at all, and I'm
Yeah,
really interested in it as like a different aesthetic device beyond just the juggling prop. And anyway, so I let myself play, yeah, and you know all about play, but I let myself play for this beginning part, uh, for sure, like as a warm up, and usually try to find something that combines movement and my technical tricks. So maybe if I'm like really running this 5 ring pattern and I'm not moving, then I'll be sure to fit in some 3 ring stuff that I'm doing body rolls or moving around in different ways, just as a body warm up also. So
yeah,
that's how I often start. And then it kind of depends what the current goal is of what I'm working on. Something that's nice about the school here and the community here is that there's a work in progress presentation every month. So there's an opportunity to like share something with the community like once a month, and a lot of students take part in that, and also a lot of the professional circus people in the community. But I try when those are happening, I try to make something new every month for these, like a short 4 or 5 minute act, and usually take one idea that I'm working on and turn that into a small act that's kind of feels like small research projects for me often. Like maybe not something I'm ever going to perform again in that way, but it's like, okay, I'm working on 1 ring and 1 ball things, and I want to do an act that's just 1 ring and 1 ball, and maybe it's going to end up being a bit of a technical presentation, or maybe it's really all about creating something beautiful and expressive with a ring and a ball. Yeah, that's just an example of one thing I was doing recently. But so if I'm working on a short act like that, then I want to give like an hour of the practice to really working on the choreography and the sequencing for that, and then running different parts of that.
yeah.
The overarching part of my practice right now is that I'm working on this longer term project for a solo show that I'm working on called Hourglass. So pretty much
Let's talk a little bit about this because I know it's been your um, goal, your dream to have like a long solo project.
Mm-hmm.
And how how have you built this longer show up? That have you started with something small, something conceptual? Because lots of jugglers, I get asked this quite often. You know, it's like, how do I put a show together, or like, what do I do between tricks, or it's just very it seems very far away to understand how to do this, right? Because even just to put together 5 minutes of hardcore juggling, let's say, it's long, you know. So what have you sort of been discovering that you need um, to know for a longer show? Like, what is the difference between a shorter one and a longer one? And do you feel like you have the audience with you all the time? Um, and yeah, and a little bit about the creative process and conceptual process, and yeah, that's enough to start with, I reckon.
Yeah, that's a whole. I feel like there's a whole hour conversation right there. So I'll just dive in, and yeah, if I get off track, just steer me back on. But for this, yeah, so this show that I'm developing, I've been working on concretely for about a year, but the idea has been there for like 6 or 7 years, the initial ideas. And I started, well, let's say, okay, so right now, let me just say where it's at now, and then I'll go back. Right now, I most recently did a 40-minute version in January at a residency in New York City, working with a wonderful juggler and also wonderful lighting designer and technician, Kyle Driggs, who has a studio in New York, a theater in New York. We worked together there, made a 40-minute version. And then next month, June 1st, here in Philadelphia, there's a contemporary circus festival that's starting this year, and I'll be doing a 1-hour version there. So right now I'm currently working on, 40 minutes to 1 hour, which is a big expanse to jump from. So I am thinking about this question a lot, like how to keep everybody with me. This is my first time making a 1-hour show. I've performed like improvised shows for an hour many times, but not like here is a show, beginning, middle, end, and more. Here's like the set structure for the show. So designing this and building it and having it something that I can eventually tour is a really big goal of mine. So yeah, I feel like I'm currently in the working mode for this show, and really happy with the 40-minute version. So last year, let's go back to where I started with it, or let's go quickly further back to the initial thing. So the show is called Hourglass. It is a show about time, exploring time, and especially like our ways of measuring time and relating to time. And I began with this idea with this large hourglass, that there would be an hourglass swinging in the air with the bottom open, and the sand is flying all over the stage. And so you have not only this pretty beautiful symbolic image of the hourglass, which we all have a story about an hourglass, or we can relate to that image in some way, but also the sand falling out, which has its own poetics to it, and like it's stunning, and you can almost just watch that, like it's a beautiful thing. And then when it's swinging, you have not only like timekeeping in terms of what an hourglass is, but also because once it begins to swing, you have a pendulum or a kind of a metronome. That's another way of keeping time. So there's
has like you have like an hour worth of sand in that thing.
So that's right now. I'm actually using 2 hourglasses. They're custom made. So the difficult part is if I want one to last 1 hour, I would either have to restrict the point in the middle so that less would come out, or so it would take an hour, or I would have to make it so big that it would be just massive and difficult and hard to travel with. So I'm at this point in the middle where it's important that the hourglass is a certain size, but also it's important that the sand is visible from the audience, but also from like a bigger audience eventually in a larger theater. So yeah, one of the hourglasses lasts about 25 minutes and another one lasts about 10 minutes. So I'm working with different ways of, and then there's also a third hourglass that I'm not using yet, but there's ways that I'm kind of shifting these on and off of stage.
It doesn't have to even be from the very beginning, right? I don't know how your show is because it's such a visual, and it might even pick up the pride and the delight of the audience to see at a certain point this big pendulum come in and losing its sand. I don't know. Anyway, this is all directions. These are all choices, right? No.
Yeah. Definitely.
So anyway, that's cool. I like this visual element. Very essential. Very zen. How does it feel? Very zen.
Yeah, it definitely feels very zen. It also, it feels very meditative. It feels like I think starting with the impulse for this show, I was just thinking a lot about time, we can say, and lots of different components of time, but also how like having a clear communicated, there's a constant representation of time on stage, which it doesn't relate. It's not a 1 hour hourglass, so it doesn't tell you can't see the show start and end in this 1 hourglass, but it does give you a structure of here's a beginning and here's an end, and you can watch that physically play out, and there's something really beautiful about that. If I had a timer on stage, like clock time, we can say, where it's just a ticking clock, that would be stressful, I think, for everybody. And so it's interesting. and this is kind of one of the big points or the big things I'm exploring with the show is like this relationship between when you can see this physically moving, it's so much more relaxing, and you can be like, oh, okay, I'm here for this time, and I can see it playing out, and it's not measured, and it's like, yes, it's measured, but it's not like cut into these tiny intervals, and I feel like it's this in our lives that is so stressful. It's these little units that we're like constantly losing all the time, or we're calculating, but when it's sand and you're like, okay, I see the beginning and end, and I can actually relax because I see that. It's different than like, here's 59 minutes, here's 58 minutes, here's 57. And that was part of my initial my
what about the juggling though?
The juggling. So there's
talk in this show, or is it silent?
It's silence. It's all juggling and movements, dance
and music.
And music, yes, music, basically the entire time. Also, so the juggling is a lot of working around different types of swingings of the hourglass and incorporating that into the juggling in different ways, and also thinking in terms of there's some. I think a lot of jugglers will know there's like a lot of history of, or maybe not a lot, but there's definitely people that have done a lot of like pendulum juggling in terms of like York Mueller or Greg Kennedy has done some of this too. But like the swinging is the juggling. So like there are multiple things being pushed around, and that is the juggling that's happening. With this, I wanted it more to be like the hourglass is a dance partner and not a juggling device. And there's this fine element of control where I don't want whatever I am representing in the show, which I feel like I've decided also, but is up to the viewer as well. If I start to control time, we lose part of the feeling of the meditative nature of this. So it's always kind of reciprocal, like in the same way that juggling, I feel like juggling is reciprocal. There's a lot about juggling that's about control, but I'm also, for my juggling, I'm always trying to find the ways that, yes, I'm juggling 5 balls, and maybe I can make that really about control, but then I can also make that about, okay, I throw the ball, but then when it comes down, it moves me, and like finding this. So the hourglass is swinging in this way, and I want to kind of explore this relationship between control. I'm controlling it, which is always on the lesser side, and it controlling me, which is more the element I'm trying to explore. So there's a lot of juggling that's like, now I push the hourglass, and now I'm juggling over here. The hourglass is going around me, and then I might make a little toss just as the hourglass passes through the pattern. So, and then maybe in the next one, it goes around once more, and then I rotate through it. So I'm using the empty space around the hourglass, and the hourglass is kind of highlighting this empty space, but I'm also using that moment of passing as ways that I can incorporate it briefly into a juggling pattern. So it's a lot of like me, the juggling balls or rings, and the hourglass, all in a constant shift of not power, but in intention or like motivation for what's happening.
Light designing, is that also very important?
The what? Sorry.
The light design.
Yeah, the lighting has been very, very important, and Kyle, who I mentioned before, has been incredible working with, because he really understands. Yeah, he just really understands lighting. He also is really, really clear and understands exactly what needs to be there or doesn't need to be there. Often, I think, for this show. So, yeah, it's been great. The first 3 works in progress that I did there was like a 15-minute, 20, 25, 35-minute version. I didn't really work with lighting very much, and working with lighting has become, like now I feel like I should almost say it's me, the juggling objects, the hourglass, and the lighting are really really important there. Of course, yeah. And then there's sound. I mean, music, definitely. But the sand falling is, capturing the visual nature of that is with the lighting is really important. Yeah. Oh, I think you might be frozen.
I'm having trouble with the internet. The
Got you
internet
back.
gods up very well today with me. So okay, so this is let's get it scrolling. So this is your website, and I was checking out just the other day, and I'm very impressed. I like it. You know, it's I've been sharing this how in the last 5 years I've been doing a lot of work around marketing, and it's a really hard journey. It's probably the hardest journey things I've ever done. It's harder than juggling. It's really hard to get your message right. And as jugglers, we tend to focus a lot on either the technical specifications of the show, put pictures of the show, which is obviously important, right? And basically describe the show. And we don't really ever think so much about who it is that's looking at our website, i.e., bookers, people that will want you in their festival, or people that would want you on their to work with you, you know. And so you've done a great job with your website, and there's your philosophy on there. And I remember quite some time ago we were working together on this, and this is what I've been learning as well. This approach of marketing is sharing your philosophy, sharing your take on the world, and each juggler's got a take and something special to share. So just understanding what that is, I think it enriches your messaging, like on a website, or just makes you, because the thing we want to avoid as jugglers is just being a juggler. I mean, there is, of course, lots of people that think, oh, I need a juggler for this event, right? I'm like, okay, where's the juggler? Oh, here's the juggler, right?
Definitely.
If we want to stand out and really make it our own career, then it depends, because it really it's really just focusing in. It could be cool as well if you live in a big city. I don't know. You could do all sorts of different things. You could literally juggle your jobs, right? But I don't know. And how do you feel this? Do you feel this is true for you now, to be sharing your take on art and juggling, and this defines you as well? It's helped define. I feel it's helped define you, and you also. So people know, they Luther, he has an hour-long contemporary show. Let's call Luther for this thing. You know, it helps with sharing. Just gets the word of mouth going very well. So how have you found that? I'm going to take this off now.
Oh yeah. Let's see. So yeah, it's definitely been a really important part of my work the last 2 or 3 years, I would say, especially. And we've had wonderful working conversations about this. So definitely that's been helpful in thinking about how important it really is to identify yourself, or know who you are as a juggler, who you are as an artist, who you are as a performer, and like someone that people want to hire. So part of my process, I think, here is just starting with, okay, I know I want to, like, my ideal, or like identifying what would my ideal performance be, which is contemporary juggling all the time, and not just I mean, I love all kinds of other types of performance, but I would love it if I could just do contemporary performance. That would be great. And then, of course, I do a lot of other entertainment performance too, but my goal is, okay, slowly move towards all contemporary, and or also to show the type of people that book the shows for entertainment things, like, hey, maybe you would actually like something that's a little more contemporary on the stage. But yeah. So anyway, starting with this point of like, what's my ideal market, or what's my ideal mode of performance, and then looking around. Being here in the U.S., there's a lot. I mean, compared to Europe, there's just a lot less opportunities overall. I would say, yeah, than in Europe. So there's a plus and a minus to that too, which is that I feel like we're at a stage where I think that will shift, and I think that will become there will be room and space for that in the next 10 to 20 years. So it's possible to kind of create opportunities in a way that I think isn't noticed. Like, it's not obvious to certain places. They might be like, oh, I really want a juggler, and they would reach out. But if you reach out to them in the right way and you say, hey, I do this type of contemporary performance, it's kind of like this type of dance show that you might have had here, or you can be like, hey, juggling is arts. And as I'm trying to work in kind of arts venues often.
Yeah. I think this is very key what you're saying now. So I remember years ago, like, hoping to have a manager that would manage me, but actually it's a lot about self-promotion. So it's really about understanding what is our ideal, like you're saying, mode of performing. What is our ideal? Who is our ideal clients? Which are it's not the audience. It's the people that book you. So there are a lot of sharks out there. Perhaps they're not our ideal clients, right? So
yeah.
It's navigating all this and being proactive, and thinking a lot out of the box of like performance in general. So this is why it's so important to have, especially if you want to work more in the contemporary scene, let's say, to really have your point of view out there on your website.
And that's one thing that definitely, I think, one thing that especially the last 2 or 3 years, I've started to apply a lot more for arts grants. And in the US, at least, there's not a category for juggling or circus on most arts grants. There are a little bit more and more. There are some specific circus grants where they know what you're talking about and you don't have to like prove that juggling or circus is art or something. But yeah, with a lot of these grants, you have to kind of fit into another box. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to choose interdisciplinary, or maybe I'm going to have to choose dance because that's the closest thing. But then you don't know who's on this jury that's going to look at this grant, and they might, maybe in their head, they saw a traditional circus when they were 6 years old, and when they see circus, they're immediately going to just think, oh, that's not art, or like, you're going to have to do a little bit of convincing there. So as I've written more grants, particularly right now, like working to get more funding for this Hourglass project, every time I feel like it's a really wonderful exercise in crafting like what my project is and also who I am. And sometimes you have to work a little more to like, ideally not too much, to like fit into a certain box that they might have for this grants. But it also, I feel like every time I do that, I'm kind of sculpting my own idea of what I do, and that then back into it's great. It's a great exercise. Even if I don't get the grants, I just am like, great. It was a motivation to hit that deadline and like refine my idea of what I'm doing. And every time that feels better and better and better. And I think if you take that as a exercise, it's really helpful instead of like, okay, I'm just going to copy and paste this bio and do it. But like, I feel like I'm trying to make my website and these type of applications are kind of just a living documents where I'm always like, okay, what does this mean to me? My show description, is it the same thing that it was a month ago? Like, maybe it's not. Maybe I want to change things about it. Maybe I found something else in my juggling that is kind of like shifted what the show means to me. And writing is important.
I'm seeing right now that like the fil rouge, like the red thread, is really with these conversations we're having so far, is really, it's not just about creative, expressive jugglers. It's also about jugglers that think a lot as well. This thinking aspect, and questioning, asking better questions, and
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, that's why grant applications are such a nice homework, basically, because they ask you questions, and then you're forced to answer them. Whereas that's really hard to do to yourself on your own, unless you're like very actively cultivating this as part of your identity. If you don't have the questions, then you're like, okay, just have to describe my show. But if the question is, how does your show relate to, this aspect of the community, or how does your show describe your show in 50 words and 200 words, or what's your artist statements? Like these are there's such important questions to have directed at you, and that you're forced to answer is really great for grant applications.
What's your artist statement?
Yeah.
So for all budding jugglers out there, what is your artist statement?
Yeah, and I think
what is your artist statement?
Yeah, this is coming from someone
just open up this.
Oh, sorry. Just one last thing, quick. And also just saying to any jugglers that may be listening out there, this is coming from someone that does more contemporary artistic juggling, but I think it's great for every juggler to do this, even if you do mostly entertainments or things like, just knowing and talking with you definitely helped me think about this a lot, Anthony. But just like every single juggler, circus performer, really exercise that muscle, because it's so helpful to be like, oh yeah, why am I doing this again? Like it's easy to go into the studio and just juggle, but if you know why you're doing it, then it will just make everything click.
I like artist statement. What is the artist statement? Let's say, what are the parts of an artist statement as you understand it? I have my ideas of what the artist statement is, right? But how do you see it? Like, what is it? What is it composed of?
I feel like I have my idea of it, so I'll give my best idea of it. I think it's different in different contexts for sure. So that's like, maybe there's one you have on your website.
Zoom out a little bit, like as if it was like could be for everybody. Like, what are the parts?
I think overall it's what do you do and why do you do it are kind of the two biggest things. And then inside of that, like what questions you have about, like, what are you, I think about it in terms of research in a way, like and I think research gets used a lot in circus these days and in ways that it doesn't always need to, but like research for just not like circus research, like, like people talk about it in terms of like, I'm doing this 3-ball trick and then I did some research to do this other version, like not that kind of research. It could be, you could talk about that, but I think more research in terms of what you're trying to do in the world. So like, what are your questions about how your juggling relates to society, or how your performing affects somebody, or what is the role of a juggler in the world? Like these questions, and this is for arts, I feel like, but also for everyone. Just like, what are the questions that you're trying to answer through what you do? And that's part of the why of what you do. But I think it's kind of, I feel like that's its own part of an artist statement usually. And I think what do you do, why do you do it, and what are you trying to find out are good parts of an artist statement.
No, I like it. It's I think that's all we need right now. I think that's all we really need. I think this is really cool. We need to think about these things, to not go off on a total tangent, right? But to understand, understand what you're doing. So there's nothing actually at all wrong with entertainment as juggling whatsoever. It's like so important to entertain people, right? To get laughing, to really get people laughing. It's when it's like a sort of middle ground that's perhaps jugglers just doing too many different things that they just don't actually end up actually having an identity. I mean, there are lots of jugglers that have one show and it's adaptable for about 1 million different situations, and that's probably one of the most sustainable ways of going about earning a living as a juggler to start with, anyway. But if you have this drive and you want to, I don't know, Luther, what is it that brings you to to work in this field rather than just like saying, this is just too hard, I'm just going to go where the money is now as a juggler?
That's a good question. I feel like, I mean, the same reason that I've chose juggling over, I don't know, some job that would more
Oh, a
easily
lawyer, a
money.
law.
Yeah, lawyer. Let's say not that that's an easy route by any means or something, but yeah, something that probably almost surely would make you more money. Yeah, I think the same reason I chose juggling is the same reason I've chose the kind of contemporary juggling and specific being true to like a certain style that I love. That's what I love doing the most. So I think that's just the answer. Is a closer and closer I can get to doing what I love the most. That's a really great place to be. I think, and I feel lucky that I think I know what I know that I love this thing, and I think a lot of people maybe they don't they either don't know that or maybe they don't have something that they love as much, and that's I just feel lucky to have that figured out. So closer and closer I can get to doing this form of expression that I love. That's one answer. I also feel like it's extremely valuable thing, like sharing art that you really spend a lot of time on and think about and investigate concepts in abstract and philosophical ways. It's a real public value, and I think that's often underestimated or just not talked about a lot. I mean, the arts in general always has this issue, but yeah, like, and that being said, I also do entertainment gigs, or I do things where I get paid more, and I have like 1, 2 acts that I do for that format, and yeah, and so that's part of my work also, and I use that to live my life, and or I use that income to live my life, and then ideally fuel and fund the type of performances that I am the most interested in.
Absolutely, it's and I didn't know all these things. What I'm going to say now beforehand, but that's part of your what would be called your business model. Right? So you have like your contemporary performances, then you have your whatever they are. They could be niched as well, totally. Um, Corporate engagements, and then you could have even other things on there. But there's a map of it. So this is what I do. This is what I can do. So nothing's. It's all feeding everything else, and perhaps with the right focus and everything, you can shift fully into only contemporary. Um, who knows, right?
Mm.
Who knows?
Yeah. I think it's also important to say that I feel like I'm mostly just talking about contemporary performance here. And I don't want to sound like I don't like entertainment performance, because I actually do get so much joy out of what I do when I do that. Like I love it. I love street performing too. I do a lot of street performing, or not as much these days, but and I do a bit more of like a contemporary street performing than like a hey everybody look at me type of street performing. But yeah, I do like I love sharing things in that way. So but it's like if I have to choose, then I would love to be able to continue crafting. I feel like with entertainment, or like yeah, like this kind of style of juggling, I feel like I've done it, and there's a certain wall that you hit in terms of like mm, the type of expression that you can do within it, and I just want my practice to be able to continue to evolve. So for me, that's really important that I can have space to evolve my practice. And I think if you're working in like you're doing like 10 shows a week in a variety in Germany, or you're in Ringling Brothers, or I don't know, something where you're working in a big top doing 10 or more shows a week, it's hard to have this space to be like, okay, I'm doing that and I'm working on my more like dreams projects or like your more inspiration projects. So yeah, finding that balance is the tricky thing for all of us that perform professionally, I believe. Like, how do you relate to what people want to hire you for, and how do you relate to continuing to fuel your passion in a way that it works for you? And for some people, that's like it's extremely amazing to perform your entertainment show 10 times a week, and that like that can be incredible. And maybe you're not like I need to do some other further thing with
Yeah,
my juggling,
yeah.
but yeah, that can be its own world for sure.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, yeah, I like um, making it a little bit more, putting a bit more intention into exactly what it is I want to do, and then um, you get more of it, more gigs of what you want. You know, it's like if your artistic identity is very clear, then like we were saying earlier, the word of mouth is clearer. Um, it just all works much better. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even for the world, but also for yourself, just being like, oh yeah, like it's so easy to get lost in the computer world when you're like, I need to write to this place, or this person hires people for gigs, or this festival. It's so easy to get lost in there with like what you're doing it for. So when you have that a little clearer for yourself, it's like, oh yeah, my long-term goal this year is to get my.
Yeah, it's on your mission, your vision,
Mhm.
and uh, and this is actually what I'm actually quite passionate about doing now is helping jugglers get all this very clear, so
Mhm.
that yeah, on the off time you're using your off time well, and you're not worried about money, right? Or yeah, it's definitely these last 5 years studying marketing. It's been it's puts everything twists everything around, like especially in the way that I've been studying, which is more like ethical marketing rather than like hype, going for the hype,
Mhm.
it's going for the fit, rather than going for the sale. You know, it's like I can't help everybody. There's like no way. And there are people that resonate with me, and there are people that don't resonate with me, and that's fine. Anyway, let's have a quick. I'm going to pull a book out of your bookshelf. Where is it from the side? It's
Whoa.
here we are. Bells are
Yeah.
juggling. Yay! So
Yes. Turning 10
it
years
was a
old.
massive. What's that?
Oh, I said turning 10 years old this year, right? 10 years old?
Oh,
Or
yes.
or maybe last year. No, this year. This is the whole this is
June the 9th will be its 10th
yeah.
anniversary, and yeah, I
Yeah.
shall be.
This book really
I'm working
definitely.
on a hardcover actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's great.
what you've read Pearls of Juggling? What to tell? Share 2 sentences on what Pearl. What do you think? What is
Yeah.
Pearls of Juggling? How's it been
Uh,
helpful to you mainly?
yeah, Philosopher Juggling was definitely really instrumental for me when I think you mentioned in the introduction that we met when you had just released the book, and we met in Torino, and yeah, it was I had only recently identified for myself like, oh, there's like all these different movement modalities possible within juggling. Like I'd been juggling street performing like crazy, and like achieved a certain technical level, and I was always doing movement as part of that, but I hadn't really thought that much about the movement. It just kind of started to happen on its own. I hadn't given a lot of attention to the movement. It's kind of like the juggling was doing it to me, and I was following that a bit, but I hadn't really like broken down what was possible for me with movement and juggling. And that was the biggest thing I think about Pearls of Juggling, was that I hadn't read, and I don't know that, at least not that I know of, there's not a whole lot out there of a book that talked about movement with juggling in this way, and gave, yeah, you have a lot of exercises in there, and the exercises are so nice because they're, it's coming from like a more dance or physical theater centric viewpoint. So that was really good. From it wasn't linear exercises, it wasn't juggling exercises that's like, yeah, you do the 5 balls for 50 catches 10 times and then we go up from there or something. It was very like expressive and open. uh, yeah, I think it's a book of possibilities for jugglers. If I had to say one sentence, I think any juggler can open it up and flip through and be like, oh yeah, that's something I want to try, or like, oh, that's something I've thought about but I haven't tried in this way. And for me, it just opened up a lot of doors and ways I thought about juggling and movement, especially, but also performing, also, yeah, especially just different elements of performance that, as someone that didn't do physical theater or like professional dance, I hadn't thought of those things that way. And so I think for any juggler, it's just a great way to open up some doors in your practice. Oh, might be frozen there. There we go.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, not sure if I cut out there or
Okay,
not.
okay. So before we share our last words, I'm just going to. If anybody's interested, you can hop over here and download a free PDF copy of Pearls of Juggling, and you also get for a week. You'll get different emails that share a little bit more about my thoughts on juggling, about my story on it, and a little bit more on coaching and juggling, and a little bit more on the retreats that I run. I run 6-day retreat at the end of September, 22, 28th, I think, something like this, Monday till Saturday. They're such great experiences. I've been doing them since 1999. So a long time, a long time. But they're just deep dives into practice, juggling practice, and thinking about the creativity. Every time it's different. Every time we go much deeper into it. A lot of great community spirit. I put a lot of energy into breaking down barriers between people so that we can really learn off each other and not feel that we're have a healthy competition between people rather than thinking
Oh, I think I lost you there. Not sure if I'm on or not. Oh, there.
Luther, I'm going to leave the last word to you. I think you probably were. I've had some problems. Apologies to everybody. If you made it this far, then thank you for your interest. And please share in the comments your thoughts, what this has brought up for you. It's always very heartwarming to read people's comments, inspiring. And it helps me carry on with this work. And there's lots of other people I'd like to have conversations with, jugglers in the future. You can even, I don't know, suggest people's names in the comments if you want to, especially around, let's say, juggling, artists and business marketing. I'm quite interested in having more conversations around that in the future as well. Luther, I'll leave the final words to you.
Ooh, final words. Thanks everybody for listening and for watching, and definitely check out, if you don't have Pearls of Juggling, definitely check out that book. You can find it. And yeah, for myself, there's my website, lutherbangert.com. On Instagram, I go by @LutherJuggling. It's pretty simple, and I post videos and things about what I'm working on at the moment. So there. And if you happen to be in the US or on the East Coast and you're around June 1st, I'll be doing my current solo show, Hourglass, at the Philadelphia Contemporary Circus Festival. And also, this is a new festival with 10 days of circus, so there's a lot of wonderful things happening there. And I think that's all my main thoughts for now. I really hope that this led to some interesting thoughts or ideas for anyone that's listening. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Anthony. So thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everybody for watching, and we're going to end the live stream now. Ciao, arrivederci.